Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. My name is Nick, and today guys we're going to be jumping down into the crypto space to take a look at several different altcoins and what has been going on most recently with the price action. As I get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. And if you haven't yet joined us in Discord, link is in the description down below. It's a fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. It's completely free, and I don't think you'll be disappointed by what you find down there. So why not go ahead and check it out today? Okay, let's waste no more time, and let's actually get right down into this, right? So we're going to start things off. We're going to start things off by taking a look at Chainlink here, okay? So Chainlink is the first altcoin I really wanted to focus in on. I am looking to acquire some Chainlink, and I'm looking specifically at this little low area down here, which is basically between 392 and 485. It's a little bit of a buy zone. Now, this is a fifth wave drop. Now, it is possible that we go down deeper than this, and I do want to kind of stress that, this is the current analysis. Right now the analysis can change based on the sentiment in the space, right? What we're doing here is we're tracking people's behavior and as they kind of react to price points or price targets and things like that. So we are tracking a fifth wave down lower using Elliott wave theory, and that's supposed to end somewhere between 392 and 485. However, looking at the structure of this recent move, I would be inclined to think that we are probably going to go down lower than this target. And the reason for this is we've kind of got potentially an overextension on this fifth wave forming. It's too early to be 100% certain about that, but I would be a little bit concerned and a little bit cautious with saying this is exactly the bottom for Chainlink here when we have a structure like this. So for example, if we were to go ahead and just take this this movement, if I grab that high just here, so that entire measurement here, and we move it over to this high point, we can see that the 1-to-1 ratio takes us down to about $4.16. However, if this were to turn into an impulsive structure to the downside and become that overextended fifth wave, then essentially actually what we're talking about is all of that is a wave one, that's a wave two, and we're coming all the way down here towards this $2.88 before bouncing and then even losing that and going down lower. So not an ideal situation. So we want to be a little bit cautious. We can see here, if this just stay as a simple three-wave correction, which would be, it can happen, it's not unusual, it would be $4.16, and that falls right inside the realm of this corrective move, okay? So I did want to kind of start off by just taking a look at Chainlink because it is following some slightly different paths than some of the other altcoins, but the zone down at the bottom here is still very much valid, and that is kind of what we're looking for. Now, if I zoom out a little bit, you can kind of see that this is a really large kind of structural move. 1, 2, 3. Wave 4 was a prolonged kind of couple of weeks trading sideways, and then we pull down and we are still looking to hit these lows, right? The minimum requirement of this fifth wave, as I would see it, would be a 1.236. That is the $4.85 target, and on a 1-to-1 ratio you are talking about moving down towards the lower range of $4.16. Okay, cool. So that's Chainlink, right? So we can kind of leave that one there. Let's actually now take a look at the second altcoin. Now, the second altcoin that I want to take a look at is Avalanche, or AVAX, right? Now, AVAX has come down quite significantly and actually a little bit different on the analysis side. So, what I was expecting to happen was to come down to these lower ranges, and, I was expecting us to kind of see a five-wave drop. Now, we've pulled back down in a really significant way, but not in the same way that I was expecting. So in order for you to do this, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so you guys get a proper view over the analysis here. Let's just zoom in for a moment. Okay, so we are actually, let's bring this up into our daily and just take a look at that macro view, right? So our macro view here, as you can see, is a big ABC structure, which actually is not technically true. It is more of a WXY than an ABC, but essentially you can see that the 1-to-1 ratio should have been held up here about 37.43, and yet we've actually moved down very, very significantly. We've lost the 1.618. That makes this entire structure basically a five-wave move, right? And this is basically our third wave, and we haven't yet seen that bounce upwards and then, you know, that final fifth wave. So I'm expecting AVAX to actually bleed out relatively hard here, and much harder than maybe, you know, we were initially expecting. So let's go ahead and just see where we currently sit. From a percentage drop, we're about 90%. So we could be looking at losing a little bit more from there. Let me actually just move this over to the side so we just keep that out of the way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove some of these old fibs because I don't need them anymore. And what we'll do is we'll focus in on this corrective move. So we had that labeled up as an ABC, or it should have been a WXY, and now I'm going to label this up as a wave 1, wave 2. All of this is wave 3, which I don't think is finished just yet. There'll be some kind of fourth wave bounce and some kind of fifth wave bounce going back down, right? So bleeding out is going to be quite bad for AVAX. Now, I think there's a lot of support to be had right down here, about $9.32. So when it comes to AVAX, that's going to be the area that we really want to focus in on. Now, there's no guarantee that we come down this low, and these 5-wave structures, once they kind of push past 1.618, they generally do have a fourth and a fifth wave. There's a high probability of that. So although we were tracking this little area, that's no longer valid, and we are dropping down significantly lower. So we should be, you know, I guess, optimistic in accumulation and the thoughts of accumulation for AVAX at these prices. But again, do your own research into whether this is something for you. Obviously, I'm not a financial advisor. I cannot offer you financial advice, but $9.32 would look like a very, very juicy price, in my opinion. Now, let's jump on down into our hourly chart, right? Because this is where we actually have some of this structural moves. And what we will need to do is we need to change up some of this so that it makes a little bit more sense with our macro, right? So we're expecting this third wave drop down. Here we can see that we've got this entire structure from the top here. And we would say that that's actually looking like our first kind of 5-wave move, potentially just here. Some kind of small bounce and still pulling back down. So we haven't really seen a decent kind of fourth wave. This could be what's going on right here. And we could be tracking some kind of 1, 2, 3, 3 here, 4, and then this being our final 5 waves. So that in total would make us with a 5, 3, 5, 3, 5 structure all inside our third wave on a macro. So if we were to have a macro structure just put up here, and it would follow the same suit, we are currently on this third wave, which contains these 5 waves, okay? And those 5 waves also contain these same set of 5 waves. Okay, so that gets really confusing. I don't want to kind of confuse too many people with this one, but essentially if I start to to kind of draw this out, I would say that what we're doing here is we're tracking some kind of move like this. This actually then finishes our third wave coming down a little bit lower. We then should bounce up, and then we should then drop down into that final 5th wave low. And if we take a look at it from that perspective, we've probably then got ourselves another 5-wave structure, which we should have, which we think would actually have to form right about here. So we go 1, 2, down for 3, up for 4, down for 5, like so. And then we end up with the very first set just up here as well, 1, 2, and I would say that we are either here or here. So I'm going to put it here. I think it doesn't really matter terribly too much at this particular stage, but you can see you have 5, you have 3 waves up, you have 5 waves down, you have another 3 waves up, and then we end up with this 5 move down. Okay, that in total completes our 5, 3, 5, 3, 5, okay, of our third wave, okay, on a macro scale. So all of those 5, 3, 5, 3, 5 structural moves are inside of a third wave, which would be those 5 waves in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 all sat inside our third wave, which is a 5-wave structure. So as you can kind of see, that makes sense. And if you're unfamiliar, join us in Discord. We'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. A 4th wave move like this, we would expect to have some kind of 3-wave structure, and then we'll pull back down. And then obviously that 4th wave shows us how low our 5th wave is likely to go. So again, can't really speculate on that just yet, but we are tracking some moves to the downside. So on that note, we should now check where our next kind of 5th wave down is likely to be. Okay, so we grab hold of our highs here, and we can see if I zoom in on this little move here for AVAX, we have that low, we have the bounce, which just needs to come up a little bit higher. There we go. And here we can see that we have this little target range, the 1.618 up to the 1.236, or the 1.236 to the 1.618, depending on how you want to look at that. And you have your little target zones right here. This is basically saying that we're going to drop down most likely in the next little while here between 1249 and 1374. That marks the end of our third wave on this macro scale. So I can go ahead and just drop that down there, and then we would expect our 3-wave bounce taking us up higher before we then pull back down into those significant lows, where 932 would essentially be our double bottom scenario with way back over here. So again, that would be kind of the area that we would think that the kind of maximum bleeding would have occurred at that point, in my opinion. Okay, so that's AVAX, right? It's quite a lot going on there. But I did want to spend a little bit more time with that one, just kind of going through what is going on and what I would expect to happen next with this one. It could bleed out quite hard, so I thought you guys should probably be aware of that. So let's now jump into the next altcoin, right? And again, very similar story with this one. If I bring this over, this is Solana, right? So Solana, again, we actually have come down into this 5th wave box that I had scoped out. This is actually indicating us between 28 to 22 and 33.59. Now, we actually did lose this. We went down lower. And because we went down lower here, we have to really think about what's going on in a little bit more detail. And this is an important thing to do, because I think essentially sometimes we get a little bit too carried away and we might start thinking, that we are hitting a bottom, when actually the micro movements within this 5th wave structure are more important than the macro directional move, the macro target, right? The macro target here is indicating this low of 28, but we obviously lost that. Because we've lost that, we really have to really analyze those micro movements to make sure that we are confident in everything that's going on. And as you can see here, this is a pretty simple 5-wave structure, but I think our 5th wave structure down to the downside here is actually becoming an overextension. And this is something that you can see relatively clearly, even within this little move just here. Well, I'll start drawing this up for you guys so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So we have the 1, 2, we have this 3, this 4 that is not crossing wave 1, and then we started to pull back down. That means that we've got this kind of 5-wave structure just going down, right? This one, actually, if I grab hold of it, immediately should finish us right about somewhere between $21 and $23, right? So we have this little target down here. I'm just going to actually grab this little yellow box and just remove that back a fraction here for Sol. So basically, yeah, 21.08 to 23.92, right? That's that little 5th wave move. And that looks like it might also have a 5-wave structure in there, and that's becoming an overextension in itself. Then what you've then got here is you've kind of got the start of this as well. And again, we might actually have a little bit of overlap here. So this could be an interesting kind of move where we actually have, let me actually zoom out a little bit further here. Yeah, I would say that we've probably got a leading diagonal there, which is interesting because you don't normally see these very often, but we could have it just like so, and it actually ended quite well there. So this 4th wave is not allowed to move past wave 1, with the exception of leading or ending diagonal patterns. Now, this could be a leading 5-wave move, which actually takes us into this overextension on this one, where again I would expect a bounce and then another 5-wave drop. So again, we follow the same pattern as AVAX in that regard. But basically what you've got is you've got this 1, 2, 3 structure, 4 and 5 that then comes down afterwards. Now, we don't necessarily know exactly where that's likely to go during this overextension, but there is an alternative macro count that we can do that might actually give us a little bit of guidance on that, and that's the 618 measurement from wave 3 to wave 1. So if we grab a fib tool here and we just grab it from the low, come on, can I grab you? No, you're not even gonna. Okay, let's grab this high point if I can. I'm just going to have to zoom in a little bit further here. Bear with me, guys. Let me just grab that wave 1 high, because I can see the wick. Come on. Let's get you right up there. Come on. There we go. Perfect. Okay. And then we'll take that low point, which is also this wick just over here. Okay. So this is our entire measurement of wave 1, 2, and 3. And what we do is we grab this and we move this over to the top of wave 4 there. And then we look for that 618. Now, that 618 is actually come down pretty much exactly where that end of that 3rd wave is. So that isn't exactly overly helpful either. So an overextension is the only other logical explanation I can have for the moves going down here overall. So yeah, I would expect Solana to pull back probably quite deeply, but it's too soon to really know the exact targets on that one, so I have to keep a close eye on it. But for now, I'm looking at 21 to 23 and then a bounce, and that bounce upwards will then dictate how low we go with the final 5-wave structural move to the downside to complete the macro 5-wave pattern. So yeah, that's Solana. Again, some interesting things going on there, and you know, we should be aware of it. Now, I'm not personally in the market for Sol. You know, I think it's got some pretty decent stuff going on, but there's a lot of issues, and I'm not overly that interested in buying into something that's got so much VC capital in it either. So for anyone who is, that's kind of what's going on there, but do remember, I'm not a financial advisor. I cannot give you financial advice. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Again, this is a protocol that we really like on the channel, and we talk about this one all the time, specifically in the Discord. We haven't done many videos on it recently since some of the kind of the noise in the space, but Harmony One, right? Harmony One is tracking some pretty interesting kind of moves now, and there's some definite accumulation that we should be aware of. There are some issues as well that are still going on in the background, that we should also be aware of, right? Nothing is as simple as we would like it to be, but for the most part, we are, you know, tracking a pretty decent move to the downside. Again, this doesn't look like an overextension per se, but it definitely has come down to the lower end of the spectrum. In fact, I think it's actually bounced directly on there at the moment, which was 2320, and that's kind of what we're tracking based on this move here. Now, I'm still expecting this to come down harder, and that's because the Harmony protocol themselves are looking to sell about, so they can get about $30 million of funding. So I would expect that to hit hard pretty comfortably. So when I was looking at Harmony One yesterday, I think it was about a market cap about $300 or so million. Now, market cap doesn't represent the amount of money that's in the protocol, right? It's just a representation of price multiplied by the circulating supply. So don't think there's 300 million available and 30 million isn't a big deal. 30 million out of the liquidity is a big deal. So the price could potentially drop down very, very sharply and significantly, making this entire structure overextend. So we haven't got any targets for that, but you know, for the most part, I was tracking somewhere between 2.051 and 2.695. That's where we are right now. And if the protocol does, and the team do go ahead and pull 30 million in liquidity, then I would expect this price to plummet pretty hard. Plus, there's going to be a compound feature where, you know, people panic sell and try to front run any potential offselling from the community or from the team lead as well. So I would expect some kind of extreme volatility on Harmony One, which will bring us down into some really nice accumulation zones. It's just too soon to really know exactly where they're going, but I would be thinking it's going to drop down lower than we are currently looking at, right? So when I was looking at 2 cent, I think we probably are going to be heading down to 1 cent, maybe even lower than that. It really does depend on whether the team do you know, sell $30 million worth of tokens, pull that liquidity, and what kind of impact that's going to have on the community, and whether the community also panic sell as that price collapses down, compounding the issue, dragging the price of Harmony One down much lower. Now, of course, that is temporary kind of short-term stuff, and you know, long-term, I'm still really confident in everything that is going on there. But there is a lot of noise. There's a lot of stuff going on, specifically with funding on Harmony. So make sure you do your own research if this is something that you want to get involved in. But essentially, that's kind of what's going on here. There isn't actually too much to talk about right now until we actually start to see those structures form. I would expect that actually we're just going to move down to this lower range. We'll have a 4th wave bounce, and then we're going to pull back down into a 5th wave lower. That's kind of the expectation. And as you can see, that would change this entire thing going. And you can see we have got ourselves here coming down nicely. So I would expect, yeah, a potential move to those lows in the very near future if the team does decide to actually sell on the community and pull $30 million worth of liquidity. Okay, so that's Harmony One. Let's move over to the next one, right, which is 𝗗𝗀𝘀. Now, 𝗗𝗀𝘀, as you can see, has come down to my lower end of the buy spectrum. Again, I'm still expecting a little bit more than this, right? So we were targeting out 25.5 to 30.75. If I pull that across, you can see we basically bounced directly on the 1.618 of our 4th wave into a 5th wave. Now, the reason that I think this is likely to come down more is the structure here. Again, we are looking at a potential move. Now, I'm not thinking we're going to come down significantly, crash down massively at this point. I think when most of the damage is already done, and therefore, there isn't exactly like a huge move to the downside to be had here. But nonetheless, I will show you what I'm thinking so you guys can be aware. So we obviously had that original kind of buy zone kind of scoped out, and now we're just a fraction lower, talking about 23.5 to about 25.15. All right, and that's kind of the low. You can see basically we hit that 1.618 and bounced right away. This would basically be an indication that we might have actually finished, but expect volatility and do expect potentially a little bit more of a lower move to the downside. Just keep a close eye on that. But essentially, yeah, we're right in that sweet spot. That little wick there could be the end of it, but it would be a rarer scenario that would be the end of that micro fifth wave of our macro fifth wave. But nonetheless, we're right in that zone. So hopefully, if you're in the mood for accumulating boba, then essentially that opportunity has been or is now essentially some fantastic accumulation zones. We've been tracking boba for a while now. Actually, we hit this high point of 193. We've pulled back down in a really significant way. You can see this fourth wave area, this fifth wave now also. So yeah, for the most part, looking very, very tidy. But it is always possible that we do pull back a little bit more. But for now, we've hit the targets a little bit more, maybe 23.5 to the lower side of things. But for the most part, yeah, it does look like we are kind of in the zone for boba. So that means that we might start to see corrective structure or just sideways trading before we actually start to move on up back to where we were. So for those who are unfamiliar, do more research on boba, but it's a fantastic layer 2 on Ethereum. So if you're looking for an alternative to maybe Polygon's Matic, then why not check out some boba? Okay, cool. So we've covered a few altcoins there. So what we've covered so far is Chainlink, we've covered AVAX, we've covered Solana, Harmony One, boba. So we're going to speed through another couple, and then we're probably going to call it a day there on this video. I've been going for about 21 minutes at the moment, so let's jump on down into this one, right? So this is VChain paired up with USDT. Okay, we do like a bit of VChain again. I've been a little bit relaxed on trying to do a lot of VChain videos, because essentially it's just kind of the same movements, but there is a little bit more detail I can go through here. We are tracking a 5-wave structure to the downside. We have a 5-wave move, a 3-wave up, a 5-wave move down, a 3-wave move up, and we're tracking a 5-wave move down. Okay, and right now we're potentially in a small 4th wave before pulling down into a final 5th wave, which could hopefully mark out the bottom of our 5th wave structure. So I think actually looking at it, we probably have ourselves here a micro 5-wave move inside our 3rd wave move of our 5th wave move. That's a lot to get your head around, so I'll draw that out. So essentially we've got a 5-wave structure which has a 5 3 5 3 5 wave count inside it. Okay, we are currently on the macro scale on that 5th wave low. Of that 5th wave, we are also tracking a 5 3 5 3 5 structure, of which I think we are currently on wave 3. Inside that 3rd wave, there are 5 waves. Those are 5 3 5 3 5, and of that 3rd wave of those 5 waves, I think we are also tracking the 3rd 5-wave move, which means that we should get this little kind of 3rd wave low soon. We have a 3-wave bounce upwards, which becomes our 4th wave. Okay, and that basically then puts us actually on not that one there, it's actually that one just at the top, and then we'll have that final 5th wave low of our micro, which actually then accounts to our macro 5th wave. Okay, so there's a lot of counting going on here, lots of stuff to keep our heads into gear on, but essentially, yeah, we are talking about, and if I actually draw this up so you can see it, we've got a 1 2 3 4 5 structure like that going on inside our 3rd wave. Then we'll have a 3-wave bounce, then we'll have a 5-wave drop down afterwards. Again, it'll look something like that, for example. Okay, so everything's looking pretty good from a VChain perspective. Our low buy zones are between 1.77 and 1.9. That hasn't changed for a while. It is still very much valid. It still feels like it's boring going sideways, or it's holding really well. Essentially, this is going to drop down. You can have a look at the stochastic RSI, specifically on that 8-hour chart. You can see it's got to come down, and that's going to hit our low targets, specifically as Bitcoin does pull back as well. So yeah, there's nothing really major to kind of talk about here, other than the fact that we are just working our way towards those low ranges. And you know, I think once that's done, we either trade sideways or we'll start a really slow kind of climb out of here, and we'll get the right structures again sorted as we find the bottom of the market within this bear structure. Currently, I think we're down like 93% from all-time high, something like that. Let me just check on the daily here. 93, yeah, actually, if we were to have this move finished, we'll be 93% from the all-time high, which is a fantastic place to kind of think about accumulation and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's VChain. Not much has really changed, but join us in Discord if you want to keep up to date with the daily stuff on VET. Now let's jump over into Cardano again. Cardano tracking a really interesting kind of move. Now this could be a leading or ending diagonal pattern. There's a lot of different things that this could be, but basically we've got overlap with our fourth wave and our wave one. So this is either just a 3-wave drop at the moment, and we're waiting for the next kind of moves to the downside. You know, I have this kind of scoped out on the conservative side of about 28.3 up to about 34. I think most of that is very much still valid, and it is a theoretical low of about 2.223. Again, that is incredibly low, but it is a 1-to-1 ratio on a macro scale, so we should be very aware of that. Nothing else has actually fundamentally changed from what I've been talking about in the Cardano videos. We have the 3-wave structure coming up here. We then had this potential leading diagonal or ending diagonal. I think it's probably, if anything, going to be a leading diagonal. Like this, a 5-wave structure, 3-wave move up, and then bam, we should drop down into these lows as well. So I think, yeah, there's a lot of different things that can go on here, and because that's a 3-wave structure, we could also articulate this differently as well. It could literally just be a 3-wave structure that takes us down like that on a slightly macro scale. So lots of things to kind of think about, lots of things to consider. Nothing is set in stone, and the alternative method here as well is, you want to kind of keep it nice and neat and tidy, is we could look at this all as a potential 3rd wave still, and actually all we're actually in, and we haven't completed the 3rd wave on this macro scale as well. So just thinking about other ways that we could potentially see this playing out, we could still end up with these low targets under lots of different ways of counting. For the most part though, you can count this in multiple different ways, as I said, and most of them are all bearish. There aren't many of these that are indicating a move upwards. The only one that there is, and there is only one at the moment, is that this is a macro move like that, taking us up maybe towards the 80-cent range. But again, that will be short-lived if it is. It is a corrective pattern regardless, and we would expect to see some room to the downside afterwards. So for the most part, yeah, everything's looking pretty bearish for Cardano. Do expect some volatility though. I do expect some movements in price to the upside, but I'm not expecting anything major, and all I really am expecting at these stages are slow and steady moves to the downside, hit the accumulations, and then bam, we should start to work our way back up as we have the accumulation, and the sentiment in the space should change quite dramatically. So guys, I'm going to leave the video there. I've covered off a few different altcoins, everything from Chainlink, AVAX, Solana, Harmony1, Boba, VChain, Cardano. If you're looking for more, join us in Discord. Link is in the description down below. It's a fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. It's completely free, and I don't think you'll be disappointed by what you find down there, so why not check that out? If you found this useful and informative, hit the like button. I'd really appreciate that. It helps spread the content out to like-minded individuals. If you're new, subscribe, don't miss another update. And with all that said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.